Hi, I'm Hansika Kapoor, and in this short video, I'll be summarizing our recent publication on creativity and anxiety that was published in the Journal of Creative Behavior. This study was conducted by me and my colleagues, Sara Rezai, Reem Mahadeshwar, and James C. Kaufman. We explored how anxiety and optimism affect the way we imagine what-if scenarios, especially the negative ones. Let's break down the research. We wanted to understand how people think about what could go right or what could go wrong in everyday situations, what psychologists call counterfactual thinking. Our goal was to explore whether the level of anxiety that you generally feel increases your tendency to imagine many different negative outcomes, and whether your feeling of optimism or the feeling that things could go right can balance or reduce that effect. We also looked at how factors like your mental health history and therapy experience can shape these creative counterfactual responses. We conducted an online study using a questionnaire. Over 1,000 participants completed the survey, and after removing incomplete and invalid responses, we eventually analyzed data from about 650 people. Everyone completed two main tasks. In the real-world divergent thinking task, participants responded to a realistic scenario, something like you need a large amount of money in a short amount of time. Think of as many new ways you can to address this problem. In the counterfactual divergent thinking tasks, participants imagined that they were going on a first date and they had to think of all the ways in which the date could go right or in their favor, or could go wrong, out of their favor. Half the participants were randomly assigned to the positive version of the task, and the other half were assigned to the negative version. All responses were assessed based on fluency, which was the number of ideas that were generated, based on flexibility, which is different categories of ideas, originality, which was how statistically rare each response was compared to other responses that participants generated. In the real-world task, raters also assessed moral balance and goal-directedness. So basically how ethical or how helpful the solutions were. Everyone also completed some questionnaires to assess anxiety, optimism, mental health history, as well as creativity. The study revealed some important differences across the three thinking tasks. So people came up with more original ideas in the positive counterfactual task. However, they generated a greater number of ideas in the negative one. Interestingly, both counterfactual tasks, positive and negative, led to higher levels of original and more numerous ideas as compared to the real-world task. As for personality traits, trait anxiety, or how anxious you generally feel, especially when combined with a mental health diagnosis or past therapy experience, was linked to producing more ideas in the negative scenario. In other words, individuals with higher anxiety and with a history of therapy or mental health concerns tended to think of more ways in which things could go wrong. On the other hand, optimism acted as a buffer. It was associated with generating fewer negative ideas, even in individuals with therapy or mental health concerns, suggesting that optimism may help reduce anxious overthinking when you're imagining situations. This study deepens our understanding of how emotional traits shape creativity in everyday and imagined scenarios. These findings highlight the importance of promoting optimism through targeted interventions. therapies that help reframe negative thoughts may not only improve mental well being, but also turn those thoughts into creative opportunities. To build on these findings, future research could address key limitations of this study. Even though the study included participants from both India and the United States, including more culturally diverse samples can help examine how creativity and emotion interact across different social contexts. There's also a need to measure rumination, or the tendency to dwell on thoughts, directly, as it may explain why anxiety leads to persistent negative thinking. Exploring the impact of specific types of therapy like mindfulness, cognitive behavior therapy, or the impacts of journaling on counterfactual thinking and creativity is another important step. In addition, future studies should also consider designing tasks that clearly separate creativity from general thinking or problem solving. Using more sophisticated tools to assess originality beyond just statistical rarity is also an option. Introducing a broader range of what-if scenarios can also capture different emotional and imaginative responses. Thank you for watching. You could read the full paper using the link in the description. And don't forget to subscribe to Monk Prayogshala for more research explained in minutes.